How you going, people? So, one of my pickleball buddies has this little rifle here that he wanted me to clean for him. And I haven't really looked at it. He just handed it to me. I made sure it was clear. And then I haven't done much with it. But it's a pretty cool little gun here. I think it's a SIG. It's got a, I think that's a Holson red dot. Nice. It's got a flashlight. Don't know if that's working. Oh, I guess it does work. That's good. A lot of time the batteries are dead. This looks like a laser, but I'm not sure. Is it? Oh, it's a green laser. Nice. Wow. Little folding stock here. See if I can figure out how to open this bad boy. It's going to be a catch. Oh, it just snaps out. So there's no latch. I was looking for a latch. So I'm assuming this is a brace. So it's not a stock, it's just a brace. He says it hasn't been cleaned. I'm noticing quite a bit of a dust. I don't know if that's coming out. I'm not going to take off the optics because if he's got it sighted in, then I'll screw it up. But I am going to, he said he's never cleaned it, but he's only, I think, taken it to the range a couple times. So I figured I'd just do a video. It's a standard AR. It's got a little bit different safety. SIG has a different safety on it. It's got the larger extractor, which is nice. Oh, it's called a Rattler, I guess. I didn't look it up, but it looks like it's got a name tag there called a Rattler. Got a nice bar here. He's got his flashlight mandle there. Lasers on a little front grip so you can activate it. It's kind of nice. Huh. Pretty spiffy. Pretty short barrel. Wow. This is very interesting. So let's take this bad boy apart. See what it looks like. So because it's never come apart, sometimes these pins will be hard to get out. But I'm going to see if I can get them out with just a finger. Okay, so it's not a finger. I'll get my Glock punch. Wow, still not coming out. Wow, tight pins. So this one came out pretty easy. So the rear pin came out pretty easy. I want to take this front pin off. I want to be careful not to scratch it. So that's pretty solid in there. I'm going to have to get a little bit of pressure on there. There we go. So just that little tap was enough to pull that out. I actually see a little bit of oil, which is a good thing. So it's not completely dry. So it may not be as dirty as I thought. Trigger housing looks very clean. I like that. Let me see if I can get a light on that trigger housing. Does this light do anything? Man, it's really hard to tell. But it looks pretty clean. So I don't think it's as bad as I thought. The exterior is pretty bad. It definitely needs a good coat of oil on the exterior. Everything else looks like it's got a pretty good little trigger. See the trigger reset? Little crisp. I would like that softened up. I'm not going to do a trigger job on it, but if this was mine, I'd polish up that and make that a little smoother. And the trigger's a little heavy. I think I could polish that up and probably get that better too, but I don't want to mess with this gun. So I'm just going to take it apart and clean it. So here's your lower. Pretty basic, really small, light. Upper still pretty stinking heavy. I'm assuming the bolt is going to be a standard AR bolt. This looks different already. I don't know what the hell that is. I've never seen that. This is my first gun seeing that. So this is very interesting. I like figuring these things out as I go. So because these come up here like so, and it doesn't look like this comes off without doing some major repairs, I'm going to get this like so pushed down and oil these tubes. Because these, any point you have friction, you want to make sure you get good oil. So I'm going to push this all the way down and get, that's pretty stinking dirty. Just, that's probably the dirtiest part right there. So these tubes need to be cleaned real well. I'm assuming this bolt comes down like a standard bolt. If I push this off, I should be able to, maybe not. Let's see what happens when I push this out. Oh, that didn't sound good. Okay, so here is, oh, you know what? It doesn't even come all the way out. That's interesting. I've never messed with one of these. So that's going to loosen that up. I wonder if that will let my firing pin come out. No? Maybe the firing pin is so dry it won't fall. Let's see if I can... Yeah, I got to get that firing pin out. I wonder if this has to come all the way out. Very interesting. So anytime I'm working with a new gun that I don't know much about, I use very soft. See how little pressure I'm using on this? I mean, this is just very light. So this appears to be the firing pin, but it really doesn't want to come out. I wonder if this is going to come off when I do this. Let's see. No. So if I hold this out and put a little tension on it, there's a little bitty tension right here, it releases the firing pin. And this firing pin actually has a spring on it. Firing pin looks oiled, which is nice. Little dirt. Not what I would call excessive. Normally you get carbon buildup right around here on a firing pin. Doesn't look like there's a lot of carbon buildup at all. So that's pretty good. I'm happy with that. Now that that's out, my bolt should come out. So this little thing, it won't come off, but it goes up. So by moving it up, it allows me access to this little firing pin detent here, which will allow... On a regular AR, you guys know, this will come out, and now my bolt should come out. Different looking bolt. Looks like the extractor and ejector is about the same. This looks like it's got good oil on it. This doesn't look real dry, so that's nice. Until I get my Q-tip on there. So that looks like the bolt is kind of taken down right there. It's kind of your bolt carrier group. So I'm sure this thing has something to do. I wonder if this little hook right here is what hooks this in. Ah, you know what? I bet you that's what it is. I bet you if I push this little hook right here up, if y'all are seeing that, I bet you that releases this pin completely. Let's see if that works. Oh, no, it didn't. So I'm really surprised that this doesn't come off, but it looks like there's a detent pin, which I'm not going to take out, right there. If I wanted to pop this out, I could remove this, I'm not sure what you call this, charging handle, spring, something. Springy charging handle, whatever. It's pretty stiff. Not a whole bunch of dirt. Definitely got a little bit of wearing there, so it hasn't had a lot of rounds through it, but you can tell where it's wearing right there. I would probably, if it was mine, I would put a little sandpaper on there. But I'm not going to mess with his. I'm just going to clean it. I'm not going to try and modify it. This says caution on it. I'm not sure why that says caution. So that's that, and then the rest is the bolt. Oh shit, I just freaking lasered my face pressing that little button there. Lucky I didn't get the eye. So this little sucker in there looks kind of very different. That looks like the gas tube. Oh, it goes all the way through. So, can you see that? That goes all the way through. So I thought it was a gas tube. Here's our barrel. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see what the barrel looks like. Sometimes I can tell, but the camera won't tell. So that's coming from the bolt side. Let me come from the other side on that barrel. And then you can see how bad that barrel is, if it's really bad or dirty. I'll know when I get a patch through it. So it looks like it just needs a good exterior. Put a patch through it, re-oil the bolt, clean these guide rod tubes right here, and I think I'm going to be good to go. Pretty little simple job. Since this kind of just kind of pops in and closes, I'm not sure how it closes. So it kind of snapped open, but it doesn't snap close. And because I was trying to keep it on camera, I wasn't watching what engaged and what didn't. So I'm assuming it has something to do with this. I don't really see a release on here to get this to close. And again, I wasn't looking when it latched open on what connected. It has to be something right in here. Oh, I got a big sledgehammer, so I can figure it out. So let's get to, I usually like to start my cleaning with clean Q-tips. Oh yeah, I guess the charging handle fell. Pretty short little charging handle. Nice. Pull one side, it releases both sides. That's kind of nice. So they're not independent. Small groove. U.S. patent, blah, 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 blah. Under license. Yeah, so this doesn't have, normally charging handles have like wear from, you know, constantly being pulled back and charged. This looks pretty unmarred. So, let's get a Q-tip and go over this bolt and see how bad the bolt is. So I didn't really ask him what kind of oil he wanted. Go Juice, 3-in-1. I kind of like just my break-free CPL. This is Collector Long-Term Protection break-free. And I've been using this on my guns, so we'll just use that. So let's put a little Q-tip, a little oil on this Q-tip here, which should be clean. And let's just look at this little bolt here. So we have a hole there. Not too bad. We have a hole there. Kind of nasty. That one definitely has a little bit of buildup. Not extremely bad. And then normally you get a lot in this little area here. So I use the other side. Put a little clear oil on there. And we'll clean this part here. And that's where you usually get a lot of the dirt. And then each little groove here where it locks in. You know what? It really isn't. I was expecting when somebody tells me they haven't cleaned it, but he said he hadn't shot it but a couple times. And according to this, it hasn't had that many rounds to it. But it definitely, I'm going to pull this out a little bit, make this thinner to see if I can get it to go in this hole. I did. So that's going to give me a little bit better cleaning in that and lubricating in that hole. And again, not a lot of dirt. So the other thing I like to do is after I do the Q-tip, I'll put a little oil on here and then just give the outside a good wipe down. Not a whole bunch of dirt. I mean, just, the biggest thing is you don't want, I'm sure this thing has a good finish and it's not going to rust easy. But in Texas humidity, you really want to keep a good coat of oil on this. So this bolt looks very nice to me now. It's cleaned. It's got a good coat of oil. I've got a Q-tip down everything. There's no reason. I could pop this pin right here and pull the extractor out and clean the interior, but the amount of dirt I got on the outside and with the Q-tip, I'm not going to get much more in there, so there's no point in pulling it anymore. So the bolt's finished. Since I have an oily rag already, I'm going to go ahead and do this little charging handle. A little bit of dirt, not a lot. Again, I'm rubbing kind of hard because I want to make sure if there's any rust starting to build up. Now this feels like it's aluminum or something other than metal. So not so much rust, but we want a smooth action. So that piece kind of made this a little bit, I guess, more dirty. I'm going to pull this back and get underneath those clips. This is a pretty nice little AR. I can tell there's a little attention to detail. All the corners are very rounded and smooth. I haven't hit a sharp edge yet. So, I mean, this is what I call finished edges instead of, you know, normally I'll take a little sandpaper and rub mine down to make it more smooth because I can feel sharp edges. This is very, very smooth and finished already. Haven't found one sharp edge on this. So I have these two done. We'll move these over here because those are clean and done. Firing pin. I'll use the back side. It's not quite as dirty. Not a whole bunch. A little bit. More important to get a good, nice coat of oil on here than it is to remove dirt from a lot of shooting. So I'm looking at the spring here and whether the spring comes out. Sometimes you'll twist it and it'll, yeah. So it comes off, but I always want to make sure it's going to go back on the same way. So I'm not going to pull it all the way off. A lot of times it doesn't matter, but sometimes it does. So unless I want to follow the manual where it says the spring must go on this way, I'm going to make sure the spring goes on just like that. Now looking at it, it looks the same. It may be a little smaller on this end. So it stops right here. I'm going to turn it the other way and see if it goes on. Oh, it does. So this would be the wrong way. They want the small end to go in to be tight when you push it on there. And now when you push it on there, it stays on there. So the compression is on this part instead of this part because this has to compress. If you put this on in reverse, the compression would be here, and when it went back, you would cause some friction or lag, and it may interfere. So it is important that this spring goes on the right way. It has to be tight on this end and loose on this end. All right? In case somebody has a Rattler, I mean, when I post this, I want to say cleaning a Rattler. So if somebody has one, they can pick up on these little tips. Now, on a standard AR, these are usually blocked and squared. This is nice and round, very smooth. That had a pretty good bit of dirt on it. But again, all these corners, pretty freaking smooth. I'm not feeling any rough edges. Little rough on here, but that's okay. That's where the pin goes through. But other than that, I like finished edges. I have a couple Dan Wessons, and Dan Wesson on their 1911s do a really nice job on finishing and rounding. Wilson Combat also. I have a Wilson Combat 1911, and everything is rounded and smooth. I can't find a rough edge on it. So this one is done, other than that little hole. So I'm going to get a little oil on this and get this little hole because I didn't get that. And pretty good bit of dirt come out of there. So had I not got that, so now I got a good coat of oil in there, and I got that dirt off there. So that's good. So this piece is done. This patch right here that's kind of dirty, it's still got oil on it. I'm going to go ahead and wipe down the outside of this with it to get the top dirt off, and then I'm going to use a clean one to do it. Now you can tell when I wrapped on top, I'm getting this greenish kind of tint. That's a little rust. That's not good. So there's a little bit of layered rust out here on this outside where you can see where it's kind of dusty. I don't know if you can tell. See how it's turning that a little green instead of black? I don't know if that color's coming out. I can see it as more green. So this is going to take a little bit. I'm going to put a little bit heavy coat of oil on here. Again, I'm not seeing any rust, but this rag color tells me there's some starting of a little... Oh, so this is a quick release on this rail, but I'm still not going to take it off because he's got it set up and I don't want to mess with his settings. Okay. We'll move that rag aside. I'll get me a clean. And I'm going to put a little bit of more of a heavy coat of oil drops on here and kind of get this saturated. Now, I said in one of my videos before, getting oil on metal, you let it absorb into the metal. And somebody goes, you can't absorb metal, metal isn't porous and blah. There are micro little holes and issues on this metal, and the oil does get in there. So this finish is really like pulling this lint off this brush, which I don't like. I'm gonna have to use a lint-free brush here. There. So this did a better job anyway, this lint-free brush. And I'm looking at it and I'm not getting any discoloration when I use that on there. But that looks a lot better. Very nice. Got a little oil on there. So I'll use I'm just going to use my finger now and oil this up and let this set and kind of soak in. And I know I'm going to get some freaking internet freaking expert telling me that oil doesn't soak into metal and it goes into the microscopic imperfections of the metal. If you look at a piece of metal under a microscope, you'll see like little cracks and imperfections in it. So by putting this oil on there, I'm letting that soak in, and then I'm going to wipe it off. And you're going to see it. It'll look nice when I wipe it off. Normally I put a pair of gloves on here, and I didn't. Anytime you leave optics on, you want to make sure not getting any oil on either side of the optics. This optic already looks like it's got a fingerprint on it. I don't know if that's going to come out on here. See if I fogged it up, see if it'll make it come out. There's a fingerprint on there. So that needs to be wiped off, but I don't want to scratch his lens, so I'm going to leave that. I'm sure it came with a one of those nice little lint-free cleaners. A lot of people don't clean their optics lens. These get very dusty and dirty. Just any rag or towel, you'd be surprised how much dirt you get off the lens from having your gun set around. And then when you need the light, you wonder why it's dim. This is a Surefire light. That's a nice light. I wonder if that came with it. If I was doing a detailed cleaning, I would pull this off to get to these internal parts in here. You can see a little dust in there. I'm not going to take this all the way down because, again, he hasn't shot it enough. I will end up putting a patch through it. So I'm just going to put this on the edge of this and run that down the barrel and see what we get. Not a lot. Pretty good. Because it's such a short barrel, I can probably use my pistol little cleaning thing to get in there. Oh yeah. Boy, that is a short, stinking barrel. So a little bit of dirt in the barrel, not a lot. It's got a good coat of oil in it now. I showed y'all the barrel. I didn't really look down it to see. Oh, yeah. I'll let y'all see it again in case y'all could tell the difference. It's like glass just from that one little patch. Very hard to get this on here to where you guys can see it. Sometimes it's too much light. Very nice barrel. Once again, I'm going to get a Q-tip and clean the locking lugs in here where these lugs lock in when the bolt closes. So I cleaned these, but a lot of people neglect cleaning these. So I like to get a Q-tip in there and make sure those are nice and greased and lubed up, and any dirt, fragments, brass, shavings, etc. Not real dirty, but dirty enough. I mean, that's to be expected in the breech. I mean, that's where most of your bang bang is pew pew is occurring. That was a clean side, so there's still quite a bit of good. I like it. So again, I'm looking at these edges and corners, very smooth. A lot of times I will cut my finger or cut my glove when I start wiping inside these and cleaning the rails. And pretty good bit of dirt. But I'm not getting any sharp edges. This is probably the dirtiest part that I've hit so far, is these rails on each side. Probably because the barrel's so short, I'm assuming. I don't know. Just a guess. You have a little bit more blowback or powder because the action is so short. I'll tell you what, this thing is going to function a lot smoother when I put it back together, I guarantee you. I mean, it just feels better already. I even think I heard it moan, but it's hard to tell. So the rails aren't too bad. Always want to get those holes. And remember when I punched out those pins? A lot of people don't clean their pinholes. That's going to make it go in easier and come out easier. when you put it together and take it apart. So there's one in the front and one in the back. We'll get a second pass for that rear one. Not a lot of dirt, but a good little oiling and lubing up there. So that pin's going to come in and out a lot easier. Very nice. Very nice little pistol. I like this. A lot of people don't clean their flash suppressor. This is where the bullet comes out, and this is where the gases come out, hot, scaped, unburned powder, etc. So the flash suppressors are a lot of times neglected and not cleaned. And they'll end up rusting because they're taking a lot of, you know, bullet comes out of here at 2,700 feet per second. Maybe with this short barrel, it only comes out at 2,500 feet per second. But still, you want that, you want any area that you can oil and cleaned when it's getting that high pressure heat when a bullet comes out each time. So I could take this out in the garage and give it a blow, a nice with my blow gun, and blow it out. But again, it looks pretty stinking clean. I don't know how he's keeping it, but however he's keeping it, it looks like it's doing pretty good. I'm not going to get any oil on the lens of the light. That'll dull it. Don't want to get any oil on the lens of the laser. That'll dull it. This is a actual pretty easy clean. Of course, I haven't got to the trigger mechanism yet, but the bolt and everything looks pretty freaking good. So now I've got to clean on the bolt. I'm going to clean, of course, the rails, any holes that I can get a Q-tip or anything in. The bolt retaining pin, make sure that's good, oil and smooth. And that pin comes in and out pretty nice. I'll put a drop of oil on this hinge here because I'm not pulling out that pin and taking it out. So I want a nice coat of oil on the inside there. We don't want any rust kind of starting. Put a drop of oil in there and work it. Put a drop of oil over here. I did a video on people saying I use too much oil, and I literally put my Glock in a bucket of oil and then pulled it out and shot it to demonstrate that you're not going to get a malfunction from too much oil. So who's ever putting that bullshit out there, I wouldn't worrying about too much oil. I would rather have more oil than not enough oil, me personally. You'll have some people, oh, I'd rather have less oil because it's going to function dry, blah, 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 whatever. My oil is just as much for preventing rust and caring for the metal and lack of friction and better movement as it is for lubrication. So, because I can't get to these tubes here, normally if this was mine, I would take this apart, figure out how to take this apart, pull these springs off, clean the tubes, and clean the entire spring all the way through. These are two big springs that would take a while, but that's the way I would do it. This doesn't what I think needs a thorough cleaning like that. Man, these got some really nice smooth edges on it. No sharp edges at all. Very nice gun. I don't know what these Rattlers go for, but seems like a very well-made, precision. They didn't cut corners. They did it right. Very nice. I've got too damn many ARs, so I don't need another one. But if I want another gun, this might be a good little addition. If one of y'all are looking for something to invest in. And again, I just put a clean Q-tip, and I'm looking for dirt. That's all I'm doing. Put a little oil on it, and get that Q-tip everywhere I can, and I'm looking for dirt. And then I'm looking at all the pieces to make sure that I see it has a fresh coat of oil on it, and it's not dry or no fingerprints. So there appears to be a little spring right here. So I just put a drop of oil right there, and then I worked it. So that internal spring, which could be getting dirt, at least I want lubricant and oil in there to stop any rust. I don't care if it's a little dirt, but I don't want oil in there. This says multi-caliber. Really? What's up with that? Can you change? I mean, I guess you could change the upper and make it a different caliber, but pretty cool. So, I've got all the pieces oiled up, cleaned. Again, probably a little bit more oil than a lot of people would like. I'm okay with a little extra oil. Let's see if I can figure out how to get this bad boy back together. So this is going to go here. So I want to see if this cam goes in either way. It doesn't. Very nice. I like that. Some ARs do that, some don't. The older ARs you didn't. You could put the cam in the wrong side, and you end up with your ejector in a wrong spot. This one, it only goes in one way, which puts your ejector in the right spot. So I like that. That it'll only go in one way. So now, when I put it in here to put it in, I don't have to worry about which way. Normally, you look at this. On most ARs, I think it's at 5 or 7 o'clock is where you want that. But I'm not sure on this one where it's going to be, but we'll see here. So I'm moving this in and out, trying to get it to where this is going to go in. Now it dropped in, and now I need to spin it, pull it out, make sure it's at that right angle, and now my firing pin should go in. Firing pin should go in here where it came out. This little pin was holding the firing pin, so I need to compress this. So I compressed it too early, and I can tell, I can't tell you how I can tell, but this needs to go in. I don't see the firing pin coming out the hole here when you press it, which tells me it's not in correctly. So I need to push this back out and make sure this firing pin will go all the way in before. I wish I could see you. If you've worked with an AR, you know how this works. It's just going to take me a second to figure this out, because that's about where it was last time. So when this pulls out. Well, we'll see when we put it back together, if it's correct. So the upper is pretty much done. All I gotta do is wipe down the outside, put a little oil down the barrel, oiled up all the interior, clean that out. Got a good coat of oil on it. And we should be able to slide this bolt back in. Firing pin has to go toward the barrel, for anybody that doesn't know. Charging handle has to go in here and hook in like a normal AR. Oh, this. There we go. So the charging handle's in there. Now I have to get this little piece here. I'm not sure that that firing pin's in the right way, because I don't remember that firing pin having to be depressed to go in. Man, I really wish I would have looked at this before I before I just ripped it out. Ah, well, here's part of the problem. That got above that, which it shouldn't have been. Like this. So, depressing the firing pin pushes that bolt locking cam forward because it's under tension for some reason, and I don't know why. So before I get any further, I'm just going to slide this back on here and do a function check and make sure this thing is working right. I don't like banging a lot. All right, there we go. So these have a pretty strong locking pin on them. I mean, these, whatever the detent that they're using is pretty strong. So I'm going to not lock them all the way out, so I don't have to deal. Oh. Okay. Let's try this again. I do not remember it being this tight coming off. Sometimes the tolerances are so... There we go. I had to lift up just a little bit and wiggle sideways in order to get that bottom pin in. And now the bottom pin is in. This one should go in easy, which it did. This pin didn't seat all the way, and it's still pretty hard to get. Oh, there, it went in good now. Okay, so now we have that. Let's do a function check. Going back and forth. We're going to squeeze the trigger, see if it fires. We got a firing. I'm going to pull it back. I should hear a reset. There's that reset, and then if I pull again, it should fire again. And it did. Man, it's a short. This is the full charging handle. Very, very short pull. But those two springs makes it extremely stiff. So let's do another firing check. Pull it back. Fires. Hold it back. Rechamber around. I wonder why it doesn't want to rechamber. I didn't look to see if this is seating all the way or not. There's a little gap right there, and I'm not sure that's supposed to be there. I think this should maybe be going forward more. But it looks like it's pretty much forward. So, I'm going to go ahead and pop this pin out. And see what we got here. So, why is the firing pin not staying in? This is odd. I wonder if this has two ways to go in. Very interesting, this little, what I should do is just go pull up the manual online and read it. But you know me. Okay, so this holds it in, but when you pull, watch when I pull the bolt out, the spring pops out. Well, it did. Now it's not. Oh, I pushed that in. Watch this. Oh, now it's not doing it. This firing pin just kind of like popped out a little bit. Oh, there we go. That's what did it. So this little thing must hook in the firing pin. Oh, you know what? I don't think I had that firing pin all the way in because I didn't pull this a second time. So when you pull this little thing here, your firing pin will stop here. If you push hard, it'll push this out. But if you pull up on this little thing, it allows it to go in a little bit, and then you have to pull it up again and push it all the way in to where it's almost equal. And now I'm wondering if this pin will go in. The firing pin is all the way in, latched onto this, and I think that's going to be what the issue was. I didn't give that second little pin there. And that's was causing that issue. So let's try this again. Slide this back in there. Oh, it dropped in much nicer, for sure. I think that was the issue. So we're going to close this. Pin went in. Crack. Oh, yeah. No restriction. Do our function check. I'm going to pull the trigger back, get a click. Hold that trigger, don't let go. Rechamber it around, should get a reset. Click, and then I should fire, and I should hear another click. Cool. And I usually do it a couple times. Oh, very nice. So that was a big issue. When you're doing that, make sure that firing pin goes all the way in. And I haven't cleaned the lower on this yet, so I've got to take it apart again anyway. But I just wanted to check because I wasn't real confident that that firing pin was going in the way it should, and it wasn't. So when you pull this out, make sure this firing pin, if I look at it instead of doing a camera, is very flush to here. Okay, if it is... Oh, hang on, I gotta open this pin to get it out to show you. Shit. How come there's no tension on it now? So, you see this tension here? If I let it go, it'll probably come out. Remember I had to take a little screwdriver and kind of just pull that out? And there was a little tension on it? That little spring there is very touchy. So it stops right here. Even with this pin out, sometimes this pin will fall in, so you got to watch that. Make sure the pin stays out. This stops, and the only way to get it in is there's a little bitty, this little lever right here that goes up and down. You have to pull it up and then press your firing pin all the way in. And you notice the pin dropped? Shit. Oh, another little pin just fell out. So the pin that connects this just rolled out on me. So I'm wondering if this will come off now. No? Damn, that is a loose little pin. I gotta see if I can find that sucker now. I mean, it's on my floor. I'm sure I can find it. But I heard it click, and then it usually bounces off. Oh, man, you know how I am when I lose freaking pieces. Pisses me off. I got to get my magnet out. Again, it was together, but I wanted to show you the problem. And the little pin that fell out is right here. And I don't know why it fell out. I was doing something to release some tension. So this little pin here has to go back to that hole there, and I have to get that in there. But in order to do that, I got to find that pin. And that's going to be a pain. Sometimes I find it quick when I get my magnet out, and sometimes I don't. So let me pause this, and after I find it, I'll come back. Because there ain't no sense in you listening to me cuss and bitch because I lost it. Okay, so I found the pin. It only goes in one way. When you release this tension on this right here, it makes that pin, that retaining pin, just fall out. So if you hold it like this and you pull that pin back, your retaining pin is going to come out. So it only goes in one way. You drop it in. You have to put a little tension on this to where this little hook ends up working. There's a little spring in here where I put that oil. But this retaining pin right there, you want to make sure that stays in. And then as I was getting back to this goes in. Make sure your little what happened to my little Glock tool? Pull your firing pin retaining pin out. This has to go all the way in by keeping this out. But because this pin, this is interesting, I always figure these things out when I have problems. Because this pin wants to naturally fall in, you're going to want to hold it this way. When you do and you take tension off, that retaining pin is going to fall out. So you're going to have to do it level like this. I'm trying to show you, and that's why it's messing me up. Keep it level so this pin stays out. Take your firing pin, you're going to press it in. As it goes in, it won't go any further. You're going to have to pull this pin up. By pulling that pin up, it allows it to go further. It should be flat. It's not flat yet. You're going to pull this up again. Making sure this pin's out. And it'll go all the way in. Then you push this pin in. And now your firing pin should be flush. I'm sure somewhere in the manual it says that. I mean, I can usually figure these things out, but so now this pin works fine. The retaining pin is in there good, and we're good to go. Since I've already cleaned this, and I've cleaned this, and we've got the bugs worked out, I'm going to run a patch around here. I probably won't show you. Around the trigger mechanism, around the magazine well, and then we'll be done. So this took a little bit longer because it was a learning curve, because I had never worked with one of these SIGs before, which is okay. I like figuring out different mechanics that they use on these guns. So there's no buffer. Normally there would be a buffer here with a buffer spring. Because this is so short, that buffer spring is that long spring I told you about. Oh, you know what? I don't think I forgot to push this down in order to clean these tubes and run a patch over them. So let me get a patch with some oil. And we're going to hold this down. And I'm going to clean these rods. And that should make it a little easier to go in and out. Plus, it's going to prevent any rusting later. I don't know if it's going to make it that much easier. Anytime something is lubed that's causing friction, you're gonna get better results. Let me get down in that trigger mechanism. I'm going to post this so he can see in case he ever has to take this gun apart, how to clean his gun. You got to see this guy who owns this gun play pickleball. I'm very envious of him. He's got a freaking great game. He makes it look so easy. So all I'm doing is cleaning the contact points, making sure all these little pieces are good in oil, removing any dirt. A lot of times you'll have blowback from here and dirt will get down in here. I'm not seeing hardly anything in here. So this gun was not what I would consider dirty. I mean, I think it needed an oiling more than anything. I'm going to get a patch and make sure I oil those retaining pins, because these retaining pins are pretty stiff. So I want those to where they come in and out a little easier. Oh, much better. Oh, much better. Shoot, they glide in. These were dry as a bone. A little oil on there made a huge difference. Wow. Very nice. Let me get the front one. Well, the tolerances on this, I mean, it's got to be lined up pretty much perfectly in order to get that retaining pin in. Let me get the bottom retaining pin because I didn't really clean that one with some oil. Put a little drop on that retaining pin area. Oh yeah, much better. And most ARs, the more you take them apart, the easier these retaining pins will go in and out. This was really, really stiff before, as you could tell. And just with, you know, a little oil and a few of me moving them, they're going in much smoother and easier. All right. Let's lock this back. Drop our bolt in here. Do a function check. I'll put this in my car. If anybody wants to steal it before I give it back to him, you're more than welcome to track me down. Rick, somebody's got to take you up on that. Well, whatever. So this bolt has to be pulled out or it's not going to load in. This is a very particular putting this back together. And if it goes in right, it goes together pretty easy. But if it's not right, retaining pin, much better. Function check. Squeeze the trigger. Hold it back. Rack it. Release the tension. Should hear a trigger reset. And it should fire again. So now I know it's operating effectively. The trigger's dropped. It's on fire now. It will not go on safe. If I rack it, it should go on safe. It does. Safety works. Safety off. Trigger should pull. Hold it back. Trigger reset. And fire again. Boom. Good. All I'm going to do is wipe down the outside now, and it is freaking done. I didn't figure out how how this little thing closes. Which is kind of bugging me. Because I'm like, dude, how does this little sucker close? There has to be a release. And I'm sure I'm just missing it. I have to look at it. Oh, you know what? I found some more dust while I'm looking at it. So that's good. Let me clean this off. And this little area here. Wow. This is really going to bug me until I figure out how to close this sucker. now it's going to become get on my damn nerves. Dude. So here, normally there's wow. Ah, I knew it. So as it opens, you'll notice, if I looked at it when I opened it, I would have figured this out. You see this little gap right here? Watch it snap down as it locks in place. Drop down. So it's locked, so you have to lift it up in order to close it. And then it closes like so. Which I wanted to close it because I wanted to get a little oil in here and open it and close it a couple times. Because this is a moving part. So I wanted it to be smooth and have a little oil in there. But it was going to bug me till I got it. Nice. Oh, much better. Very nice. I like it. SIG Rattler. Cleaning, takedown, different takedown. I'll probably go over it a little bit better once I get off camera, but you get the gist of it. Hope you enjoyed it. Those little mess ups I could cut out, and then you would think I'm like perfect, but I'm not. And so it's a learning experience, but it's all mechanical, and if you work with enough guns, they're all going to have the basic. That's what I tell people. Every time you get a gun, you should examine it. It's working, the bolt, everything. You should be able to, in a crisis, get any gun in battery and get it in a fight. I mean, right, boom. I got to get, the gun's on the ground, shit's hitting a fan, and now I found a gun. I should be able to look at that and figure out where the safety at, where the charging handle, how the bolt moves rear, safety trigger, magazine. All those things are the same on just about every gun. So you should be able to put any gun into battery and get in the fight very quickly. So you can either lock this in here or use your little laser. Very nice. All right, SIG Rattler. I'll have to add these two. Shit, that was over an hour. All right, y'all have a good one. We'll end that there. Matt, thanks for all the lessons in pickleball. He's really helping my game. Well, I think he's helping it. Everyone else probably still think I suck, but anyway, y'all have a good one.